Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here. Really excited for this video. Every year I do just about one or two PC builds, and this one's pretty special. Intel actually sent their new Core Ultra 9 chip that we're gonna put inside, and paired with that RTX 4090 from NVIDIA, this is going to be a very high-end build. All new motherboard from MSI got sent over, a Gen 5 SSD in this build, and a lot more. So let's go ahead, take a look at what we get, and then of course, put it all together and play some games. Let's get started. Taking a look at a few important pieces, the Intel Core Ultra 9 chip. This is the Ultra 9 285K. I love this packaging for our NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 GPU. Just check that out. And I do want to point out, I will be doing a lot of gaming and even streaming as well. I will link to my Twitch account down in the description below if you're interested in checking out some tests and some games we're going to play. And the motherboard, the Z890 Carbon Wi-Fi from MSI. It does have Wi-Fi 7 built in and a 5 gigabit per second Ethernet slot. There's a lot of other great features like Thunderbolt 4 and others. Check them out. And keep in mind, with these new Intel chipsets, you actually do need to get a new motherboard that supports them. We're gonna have to cool this new CPU. This is the MSI Core Liquid i360. You have your radiator with some fans, and you can control the colors as well. I'm excited to check this one out. Obviously, we need storage and RAM. This is Crucial's DDR5 overclocking desktop memory at 32 gigabytes, and our T705 Gen 5 M.2 SSD. It does have a heatsink installed to it. They do have an option without one if that's of interest to you. So those are most of the main parts. Let's get our motherboard out and get this build going. You get some different stickers in the box of the motherboard. A quick look at all the ports in the back. 2 Ethernet slots. You've got HDMI, 3 USB Type-C. The lightning connections are labeled. A ton of USB Type-A. I wish they would have swapped out maybe a couple USB Type-A for Type-C. That's just me though. Something really cool, again, Gen 5 M.2, but it's just push and lift to take this piece off to install that SSD. You don't have to unscrew this top piece. Again, if I have a heatsink on, I probably won't reinstall this. Just depends on what I want to do with my testing. Oh, and that's not all. Same thing for right here for all of the other slots for your SSDs, etc. Really cool how you don't have to unscrew it, and it's really easy to just reconnect. All right, first things first, let's get this CPU dropped on in there and installed. As usual, spot the arrows. You'll see one in the bottom left-hand corner there, and then if you look at the CPU that you get, there's one in the bottom corner there, so when you set it down, make sure those line up. And when you set it down, don't slide it around. Make sure you just sort of line everything up and drop it on in. You don't want those pins bending. And then when we close it on up, it should lock it in place, and this should pop right off. Save this for later, just in case you take out the CPU. Let's get our Crucial DDR5 Pro RAM installed. Always check your motherboard manual, especially if you only have 2, on which slot to put them in. Every single motherboard might be a little bit different, but when you do put these in, at least on this motherboard, it's a single latch, so I pop this out. Just push it in until you hear a click like so, and for this motherboard, it actually wants you to do skip a space, and then again, press in, make sure you hear that click. Kind of crazy that something this small is 2 terabytes, and this is a heatsink up towards the top. Like I said, they sell it without the heatsink, if that's of interest. So 2 terabytes, that might be just about one Call of Duty game. Now, I'm just kidding, obviously, but let's get this installed. Since it has a heatsink, I'm going to use it without this top piece right here for now. Always make sure you remove the plastic first. This motherboard makes it really easy to install. I just lined it up, pushed it in, and then just twisted this lock here so it's not going to come out whatsoever. At this point, it just sort of depends on what you want to do. I'm going to actually install our motherboard into the case before I do the cooler, definitely the GPU, but even like cables and such. In this build, we are going to use the NZXT H9 Flow case. Quick look at the back is a good example why you wait to kind of put those cables in, because some of the front panels are here in the back and connecting to the motherboard. Also some nice Velcro for cable management inside. All right, now lining everything up to make sure we can screw this in. I would personally recommend using a manual screwdriver to get this motherboard installed. So I have all the case cables plugged into the motherboard, HD audio, our system fans that are pre-installed, our front panel, and this system fan right here plugged in right here. I can install some at the bottom, I might do that later. Also on the side here, a USB Type-C and Type-A cables for the ports in the case. Something that's always a pain to install is the radiator on top, but this top piece will come off. So let's get our MSI liquid cooler installed. We've got our MSI Arsenal Gaming Core Liquid i360. I love the style. Everything's all nice and neat. Obviously need the Intel bracket. They even included MSI branded thermal paste for you. I've got the bracket in place behind the motherboard. Now let's install these standoff screws. Quick close-up, top of the radiator and the 3 fans that are installed. Make sure you do peel off these plastic pieces on the fans. Now just line up that top bracket and use the included case fans to get the radiator mounted. With the radiator nice and secure up top, let's just pop this bracket up towards the top. It's so much easier if you can take this bracket out. Might have been one of the easiest liquid cooling installs I've done. Here's our MSI cooler. Again, make sure you do peel off all of this plastic, nice reflection to it, and flipping it over. Again, make sure you peel off this label before you get everything installed. Now let's put on our thermal paste. Using MSI's included thermal paste, let's add maybe just about a large pea size dot to our CPU. Okay, so that's just about good. Maybe I like to do like just a little dot here and there and there. As long as it just gets even eventually, just don't put too much on, that should be fine. Now just make sure you have your screws at the ready and line up this cooler. Thankfully there's some text so you know the exact way it should go on. Line up the screw holes and sort of press down. Again, you are sort of spreading out the thermal paste as you press down, and grab your screws here and start locking down your cooler. Make sure those screws are nice and tight. I had a buddy once that didn't actually have this in contact with the CPU, so it just kept overheating. All right, so I've got my pump connected, my CPU fan connected. I've got both of those cables connected. Let's get some power. Let's get our power supply. Not the most exciting, but a power supply is really important for your build. This is the Corsair 1200 watt, which is probably a little bit more power than I'll need, but still it's more than enough. Quick close-up of the Corsair RM1200X power supply. All the connections are right there. It does come with the cables, of course. Couple things worth mentioning. This has a really nice magnetic door to open and close. It's on a hinge and it makes it very easy to access your cable management. Now the power supply can only go in one way. You need the fan facing out. There is a bracket to sort of set it down for support. Just slide it on in and there you have it. That's where that power supply is going to go. So all of your cables are going to come off the top. Now grab some of your case screws and get the power supply attached. Again, I'd recommend a manual screwdriver. As just a quick tip, you might want to add some of your power cables ahead of time to make it easier. Now it's going to be hard for me to get these in. I knew that going into this. I'm just doing it in these steps. Quick update, getting everything connected to my power supply. This cable management is easy. I've got Velcro straps here. I'm just kind of throwing everything there. This is the cleanest build I might have done yet. We're in the home stretch. This might be my favorite piece, the RTX 4090 from NVIDIA. Here is all the ports, 1 HDMI and 3 display ports. And just checking out the style of it, that is where your power connections are going to go. You do have fans and heat sinks on both sides. All right, make sure to take this cover off where the connector is. By the way, NVIDIA included a cable for us, just an extension one, so it will connect via here into the graphics card, and that will go into our power supply. All right, I've moved these slots on the left here because we are going to screw our GPU in. Just line it up with our PCI Express slot. Once lined up, just push it on in. Make sure you hear a little snap and everything's secure. Okay, I've got my GPU screwed in and secure. This is looking really good. It's really nice NVIDIA includes this cable here just to make everything uniform. You can sort of bring it under and it looks much more clean. All right, I think we're good to go. We've got all our cables plugged into our power supply. Let's get everything set up. So this is hands down the easiest build I've done with the combo of the MSI motherboard, this NZXT case. Let's get this on, and we will do a peel reveal, of course. All right, and here's that PC build. Yes, it did boot up for the first time. Always very satisfying. It was so easy to put together. Huge shout out to MSI. They put together a great motherboard for this build. I do love how subtle the lighting is, and not only do they offer 5G Ethernet, but also Wi-Fi 7, which is great because I have a Wi-Fi 7 router. There is plenty of USB Type-C ports, Thunderbolt 4, and plenty of USB Type-A as well. I have no issues with all of my peripherals, even when I'm streaming. We do have to keep that Intel Core Ultra 9 cool. The MAG Core Liquid i360 from MSI is fantastic. I've had zero issues with anything remotely close to overheating. It also comes in white if that's the style you're looking for. And again, pretty subtle with the lighting in general. However, you can completely customize the fans and even just the cooler itself. I've got everything hooked up to my Secret Lab Magnus desk. I love this setup. It's actually just like near perfect for me. I do have a video on it if you want to check it out. I will link to it down below. So nice being able to play games while I'm standing. Yes, this desktop is just attached to the desk, so it goes up and down with it. Standing while gaming does take some getting used to, of course, but of course, let's talk about performance. With that RTX 4090 and that Core Ultra 9, performance has been incredible. And I mean it. You can watch a bunch of videos, play games, and just play all of the latest AAA games. I have dual 4K OLED monitors, 32 inches, so it's outputting a ton of graphics with that resolution. Not only have I been able to just play games at this resolution, I've been able to stream while playing games on Twitch. You can follow me over there if you want to, but it's really a good test. I think that's a perfect test of a gaming PC, is being able to game and stream in 4K resolution. It's crazy. I've had zero issues. This has been my favorite build I've ever done. Also, don't forget, Crucial from Micron makes fantastic RAM. You can overclock their RAM if you want to. I have their Gen 5 SSD, so just future-proofing the speeds. The transfer speeds are so quick. And Intel's CPU, not the biggest of upgrades from last year when it comes to gaming in general, but it's very consistent. The performance is fantastic. The temperatures haven't been a problem. Again, big shout out to MSI for their cooler. If you're looking for an extremely powerful, stable computer that's not crazy flashy by any means, it has some nice aesthetic touches to it, this is definitely a big go-to for sure. I've been able to play Fortnite at 200 to 240 frames per second. I cap it at 240 because of the refresh rate of the monitor at 240 hertz, so keep that in mind. But again, you play these AAA games at high detail. This isn't even medium quality settings. This is high, ultra high settings, and everything looks fantastic. Even at that 4K resolution and still getting those frames is just blowing my mind. So there you have it. There's my ultimate PC build. It's going to be really tough to top, but a lot more content coming soon on this desk setup, this gaming setup. Be sure to follow me on Twitch as well. I will stream with this PC if you have more questions, anything follow up. But also, of course, I'll be down in the comments, so be sure to drop a comment. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe as well. And as always, thanks for watching.